Do you know the meaning of this number? This value represents the amount of minutes people spend on their smartphone during the day.
Bogart's quote, "In the past you were what you owned, now you are what you share," seems to gain more force every day. According to a study published in the prestigious journal Psychological Science, the need to stay connected to the internet and social network is more irresistible than the need to smoke a cigarette or drink alcoholic beverage. And this need is increasingly growing, especially in young people. Indeed, this is a trend that is widely spread across younger generation, and 98% of Z generation have its own smartphone, and 52% of them recognize it as the most important asset they have. They consider mobile phone as part of their being and identity. Smartphones have inimitable features such as ubiquity, flexibility, side screen, size, and application that can be utilized everywhere, anytime, with access to the data. Thanks to this portability, it allows users to interact with different applications and with other people 24/7. Smartphones are powerful tools, but people need to use them moderately. Unfortunately, COVID-19 pandemic has contributed to the alienation of emotion and increase of 39% in terms of time spent on mobile daily.
Some interesting statistics reveal that the first thing that 57% of people do once they wake up is to check their mobile. People type on their mobile phone at least 1,000 times a day on average. 52% of young people are used to spend long periods of time in silence focused on their mobile while they are with their friends. 66% of the world population show signs of nomophobia, so they have fear of being without their phone. If that doesn't say phone addiction, what does?
This is a social issue with an increasing relevance, and also academics start to analyze this topic in the scientific literature. The mobile phone is one of the most important kind of information and communication technology, and it is probably also the one that has shown a huge development during the last years in terms of technological innovations, social impacts, and general use by the majority of the population. The cell phone has many attributes and features that make it particularly attractive to adolescents and encourage its use among members of this group. In particular, it has several functions that can be gathered in 5 options. The first is social interaction. It gives the possibility to remain in contact with friends or meet new people virtually in an easy way. The second, image and identity, since it provides an identity and prestige in the context of a relationship. Third, learning proposing. Indeed, it is a powerful tool in terms of education, in which it is possible to find a lot of information also in real time. Fourth, entertainment, to having fun and entertain itself during spare time. All these aspects are able to render smartphone one of the most relevant objects in daily life. However, there are differences not only about the reason why it's used, but also in the way by which it is used.
Following the Maslow model of motivation that argues that human behavior can be viewed as the actual execution of behavioral intention driven by certain underlying motivation. This model proposes that product attributes, advantage, perceived ease of use, or perceived utility influence behavioral intention, which in turn results in different behavior depending on how it is perceived. We can have 5 different user behaviors: addicted, any activity that has become the primary focus of a person's life to the exclusion of other activities, or that has begun to harm the individual mentally or socially. In context, the uncontrollable and involuntary use of a cell phone by subscriber can be considered as an addiction. Compulsive is a repetitive behavior that the affected individual usually experiences a strong urge to continuously perform the behavior. Dependent is different from addiction in that it is often motivated by the importance attached to social norm. In this context, it is not the addiction to cell phone use, but the importance of communication. Habitual, many behaviors that people perform on a regular basis can be characterized as habits because they are performed with little mental awareness. These are initiated by environmental stimuli in a given situation that calls individuals to action. These cues send signals to an established habit that corresponds to a behavior in a given situation. Voluntary, unlike habitual and addictive behavior, voluntary behavior is behavior that is driven by specific motivation.
So, after having analyzed the possible smart user behaviors impacted also by culture and habitual users of mobile phones, it is important to understand the possible outcomes that impact emotion and personality. There can be positive outcomes concern a modern healthy behavior and benefits that are social connection, productivity, and self-esteem. Negative outcomes concern addictive behaviors and consequences are stress, lack of communication, frustration, lack of control, and withdrawal. For some years now, doctors have been sounding the alarm about the use of technology. However, not enough is said about how much students exposed to risk, since they are the segment of population that spend the most time connected to smartphones and tablets. Moreover, the excessive use of smartphones as entertainment can cause an inability to study, less concentration, a greater tendency to distraction in the end. Hence, also a worsening of learning and academic results.
All this analysis has highlighted all the aspects concerning the smartphone usage, which is a real addiction and it's probably the biggest non-drug addiction of the 21st century. This situation has been worsened so much by the pandemic situation that has had a huge negative impact on personal psychology and behavior. COVID has caused social alienation, people isolated both virus and social relationships. Especially young people who haven't been strong enough to bear the whole situation have found comfort into their smartphones that have given them the feeling of inclusion and that have created a new, parallel and safe world. Students use their smartphone to carry out several online activities for escaping reality. During the pandemic, they felt empty and anxious due to lack of stimuli, so they might increase their addiction to escape from the boring life. And this has led to negative emotions and feelings. Digital detox is crucial. Students need to rediscover social moments and spaces in which they do not need to be connected. It's important to give them stimuli in order to avoid to let them be trapped in the web of the web.
We conducted an experiment with the aim of understanding if there is a causal relation between our nudge and smartphone usage behaviors of students by analyzing the impact of external stimuli. Our sample is composed of university students because they are representative of our generation target. The location of our experiment is HEC Liège, in the hall, because it's a chilling and informal place. We consider the break time because this time most of the students are at the university, which in principle should be more probable to interact with each other. For our experiment, before implementing our nudge, we have considered the number of students that were in the hall between 12 am and 2 pm in a day with a high affluence of students. Among these, we analyzed how many were on their phones and how many were talking and socializing. The control group analyzed the first group of students by associating conventionally 0 if students used their smartphones, while 1 if they didn't use their mobile phones. Then we applied our nudge, which was another day with a similar students' affluence. In order to test our hypothesis, we used a flyer to catch the attention of students and which invited students to play several games offered as possible alternatives. The motto was "Unlock your creativity, not your smartphone," to incentivize in sharing moments with the others. Now let's analyze the results of our experiment. Without the nudge, the percentage of people who used the mobile phone was 67%, against a percentage of 34% with our nudge. For a deeper analysis, here we analyze the means of the two groups, 0.33 for the first one, while 0.56 in the second one. Since 1 represents the number of people who were not on their phones, the mean in the second group is closer to this number. Therefore, some students have quit to stay on their phones. In order to verify the causal relation, we used an unpaired t-test since the two groups had a different population.
We have seen that the difference between mean 1 and mean 2 is equal to minus 0.23, and to verify if this difference is statistically significant, we've chosen a confidence interval equal to 95%. The t-value we have is equal to 2.29, and the p-value equal to 0.023, less than 0.05. That implies a statistically significant difference. So our nudge worked.
As Viktor Frankl said, between stimulus and response lies a space. In that space lie our freedom and power to choose a response. We can say that often the problem is not the tool itself, but lack of stimuli, and if we give the input, the way by which people behave can change. In the past, there were newspapers. Now there are smartphones. And in the future, what else?